Most parents feel like they're drowning in busyness. You wake up exhausted, you manage chaos all day, and then you collapse at night on repeat. The problem isn't your schedule, it's your framework. What if you had 5 to 10 or more hours a week for something meaningful? Because somewhere in the back of your mind, there's this quiet guilt. I should be doing more. I should be more present. I should have more time for what matters. But here's the hard truth. It's not that you don't have enough time, it's that your time is systematically being stolen. We all have these things. These aren't just minor inconveniences. They're what I like to call time thieves, quietly robbing you of hours every single week. It could be your phone, endless streaming, just physical clutter around you, disorganized routines, decision fatigue from reinventing the wheel every single day. Hours that you could be investing in your mission, hours for meaningful conversation with your kids, hours to actually breathe and think. But that changes today because today we're going on an offensive. We're cutting the chaos and reclaiming those stolen hours. I'll give you practical frameworks to simplify, systemize, and stack your time so you get more life out of every single day without adding more hustle to your schedule. This isn't about becoming more productive. It's about becoming more intentional. This is Fulfillment Frameworks. Let's reclaim your time. If you're new here, welcome. I'm genuinely glad you're here. My name is Michael Lochmiller. I'm a husband and a father, probably a lot like you. Got 5 kids at home, a wife that I absolutely adore, and a life that's been anything but predictable. Over the past decade, I've had to discover through success, through spectacular failures, through faith and family chaos, a set of frameworks for living that actually hold up under the pressure of life. Systems that provide for my family, create genuine meaning, and prevent total burnout. You see, we've just spent several years overseas doing mission work with our whole family. It's an incredible experience, stretching, exhausting, life changing, to be sure. But now we're back. We're rebuilding from scratch. We're buying a house, establishing new rhythms, starting completely fresh. And everything we're doing now, every framework I'm teaching you, we're testing in real time. And here's my mission. I want to help you design a deeply fulfilling life that doesn't leave you ragged, burnt out, or, ironically, sacrificing the very people you're working to serve. Because here's the tragic paradox. Most of us are working ourselves to death. For the people we never get to see, we're building financial security while eroding relational intimacy. We're providing everything except for our presence. That ends here, and that ends now. In episode 1, we laid the foundation with the principle of first things, identifying what truly comes first in your life. In episode 2, we built your family compass, a family mission statement that keeps everyone aligned and moving in the same direction. Now, today, in episode 3, we're talking about time. Where does it actually go? How it gets stolen without you even realizing it, and how to systematically reclaim it for the things that align with your mission. Because here's what I've learned. You can have a crystal clear first things and a beautiful family mission statement. But if your time is scattered and chaotic, you'll never actually live them out. Time frameworks are where mission meets reality, where values become visible, and where intentions become impact. So let's get practical, let's get specific, and let's reclaim your hours. Let's start by naming the biggest culprits: digital distractions and mindless consumption. You already know the statistics, mostly because you've lived them. Hours vanishing into social media scrolling, entire evenings swallowed by streaming shows you won't even remember next month, mornings lost to checking emails, notifications, news cycles that honestly don't really matter. And here's the kicker. Most of it doesn't align with your mission or refresh your family relationships. Now, I'm not preaching digital minimalism because trust me, I love my technology. I love digital things. And I'm definitely not telling you to never watch a movie, because who doesn't like cuddling up on the couch with your family, having a bag of popcorn and watching a good movie? I'm talking about being intentionality. Okay. If it doesn't serve your mission or genuinely restore your family, it's stealing time from what does. But it's not just screens. There are more subtler time thieves that most people don't ever identify. First one, decision fatigue. And I saw this a lot with my wife. Every morning, you're staring at your closet trying to figure out what to wear. Every evening, standing in the kitchen asking, what's for dinner? While you have kids screaming, what's for dinner? These aren't big decisions, obviously, but they drain mental energy and eat up minutes. And those minutes compound into hours over a week. And those hours compound into weeks over a year. Second, physical clutter. Searching for keys, hunting for important documents, looking for your kid's favorite toy in the house is always a little bit chaotic. Clutter doesn't just mess up your space, it fragments your time and attention. And this is the one I struggle with a lot, being ADHD. Next, lack of systems. Doing the same tasks over and over without creating repeatable processes. Every week, you're starting from zero instead of building on what you've already figured out. You're reinventing the wheel daily instead of designing a process once and executing it forever. So, this is what you do. Ruthless editing. Step one, turn off on all notifications that do not serve your family's mission. Seriously, pause this podcast and do it right now. Do you really need to know every time someone likes a photo or a post or sends something in that group chat? Probably not. You can check it a little bit later. Most notifications are designed to fragment your attention. All right, that's literally what they pay engineers a lot of money to do at places like Meta and X and TikTok and Instagram, like all these places, is to get you to look at your phone and do nothing else, because that's how they make their money. It's not designed to enhance your life. And guess what? Smartwatches make it all the worse. Phone could be in another room, still get a notification on your watch. So make sure you turn off all the notifications. Go into your settings right now. Turn off 90% of them. Keep only the ones that genuinely matter. Texts from your spouse or other family members, calendar reminders, actual emergencies. Okay. Now, step 2, create a phone-free zone in different parts of the house. That could be dinner table, family devotions, bedtime routines, the first hour of your morning, date nights with your spouse. These are sacred spaces that your phone doesn't belong in. Think of your phone somewhat as another person. Would you really take somebody else on a date with your wife? Or if you're trying to have some quiet morning walking time or whatever it is, would you really want a stranger there with you interrupting? Or maybe bedtime with your kids. Do you want a stranger there interrupting bedtime with your kids? Probably not. So let's move on to step 3. Replace one evening of mindless streaming with something mission aligned. Again, mindless streaming, not a movie with the family, something that everybody enjoys together that brings you closer, but just that mindless, oh, what's next? What's next? Oh, let me go to this service. Let me go to that service. Let's get rid of that. All right, let's do something that's mission aligned. That could be reading books together as a family. It could be playing board games. There's a lot of really good board games out there. Make sure you hit up the comment section and let me know your favorite board games, or if you need some, you can ask me and I'll tell you some of mine. They're really good. You can take a walk as a family, sit down and just talk, have actual conversations. That's a little revolutionary these days. Do something that builds connection instead of just passively consuming. All right. Just one evening, try it. One evening. That's it. That's like 2 to 3 hours reclaimed right there, if not more. So here's what happens when you ruthlessly edit. You create space for what matters, space for connection, space for presence. And that space, that's where fulfillment actually lives. Now, here's a powerful shift in thinking. Instead of trying to find more hours in the day, let's layer multiple activities together. You've probably heard this somewhere else. It's called time stacking. And when you do it right, it's not about multitasking or getting a lot more done. It's about multiplying your impact. And so here's a few examples. Example one, audiobooks and playtime. My kids and I, we often do this. We listen to an audiobook or a faith-based podcast or something while we're building with Legos or magnet tiles, coloring, drawing, any of these type of activities. They get my full presence and engagement while I'm sitting on the floor playing with them or giving them little building tips as an engineer, building with them, having competitions, laughing with them. But we're also getting intellectual and spiritual growth as a family. That, in addition, we're also sparking good conversations with our kids because the kids will think of something that I didn't think of and they'll ask me about it. And we'll just have a good conversation based off of that. Multiple missions are accomplished simultaneously in a good way. Example two, family walks. We try to do this as often as possible. Go for a family walk where you're getting exercise. Good thing about these watches I did mention earlier is that, tracking your steps. So me and my wife like to go for walks throughout the day, a couple times a day if possible. The kids come right along. We're all getting fresh air and movement, and we're talking to each other. We're talking to the kids, throwing football with my sons, talking to my daughters as we're walking, just having conversations about our day. Okay, we're getting fitness, parenting, and connection all in one activity. Instead of three separate events, we stack them together into one high impact time. But again, it's not about the productivity of how much can we get done at the same time. It's about layering the things that add up to our mission. Example three, morning spiritual formation. So during your morning routine, while you're getting dressed, making coffee, or whatever it is you do, you could listen to scripture reading or worship music or whatever it is that you do. You're already doing those tasks. Now you're layering in spiritual formation without adding time to your schedule. Homework and meal prep. Example four. So while your kids are doing homework at the kitchen table, and this is what my wife does a little bit, you can be meal prepping or organizing for tomorrow. You're available for questions. They're building independence as they're doing their work by themselves, and you're getting ahead of tomorrow's responsibilities. Okay. But you're not so focused on getting ahead of the responsibilities that you don't stop and help them when they ask questions. And here's the key distinction between layering for good things and just time stacking to be super productive. Okay. Because what I'm saying is not about multitasking. Okay. Multitasking fragments your attention and makes you worse at everything. There's studies that show that. Go look them up. This is about strategic layering. Okay. Making that little lasagna of your time. I say that because I really want lasagna right now. So I think layers, that's what came to my mind. I like food. Sorry if it made you hungry. So it's talking about strategic layering. We're combining activities that naturally complement one another and serve multiple aspects of your mission. Go back and listen to those examples again. Okay. They all kind of complement each other. Okay. And if they don't, you got to get rid of it. So if you're trying to layer and it doesn't work, that's okay. Just find something else. Just keep trying different combinations until you find something that works. But let's be a little smart about it. All right. Don't try to have a deep conversation with your spouse while you're scrolling your phone. That's not a deep conversation, and they're likely to get upset with you. Okay. That's competing activities. You'll fail at both. Whatever you're trying to do on your phone is going to be messed up. And your wife or your husband, they're going to be upset because you're not really paying attention to them. All right. Make sure they're not competing activities. But listening to something enriching while doing routine physical tasks, that's complementary stacking. One activity that doesn't diminish the other, they enhance each other. One personal favorite of mine, another bonus example, is whenever I'm doing something like mowing the lawn, raking the leaves, trimming hedges, or anything like that, that's just kind of that repetitive physical task over and over. I love listening to a podcast or music or, my kids talking with me because I don't have to, well, except for mowing the grass, that's kind of loud, but like, trimming the hedges or something. You get the point. Something that it goes together and it doesn't fragment your attention. So for the stacking filter, to help you with this, let's ask ourselves, do these two activities or three, I would probably not go above three. That might be a little too much, but around two or three is fine. So ask, do these two activities naturally support each other or do they compete for the same mental bandwidth? If they compete, separate them. If they complement, stack them. Basically, what I try to do is I try to have one physical activity and one mental activity that I compare together. If it's something mindless, routine, repetitive, like going on a walk, I try to pair it with something mental, talking with kids, talking with a wife, listening to a podcast, something of that sort. All right. You don't want two mental things or two physical things that they're going to clash. Okay. And this is really based off of a biblical principle that's found in Ephesians 5 that talks about making the most of every opportunity because you're literally redeeming time. You're turning ordinary minutes into mission-driven moments. You're not adding more hours to your day because nobody can do that except for God. You're extracting more value from the hours you already have. Again, back to our original mission statement. It's not about doing more. It's about being intentional. Okay. And when you do this consistently, you'll find that you have at least 5 to 10 extra hours of value every single week without working longer or sleeping less. Now let's talk about eliminating the time drains through simplification and systems. Most people waste hours every week, not because they're lazy, but because they don't have systems. So let's build some together. First one, meal systems. Stop reinventing dinner every night. That's exhausting and honestly inefficient. Instead, create a rotation of 5 to 7 family-friendly meals that everyone enjoys. Meals you can make in your sleep, meals that you already know the ingredients, the timing, the process. Monday could be tacos, Tuesday could be pasta, Wednesday could be chicken and rice, Thursday could be leftovers or some kind of easy night or go out to eat night or something. Friday could be pizza. Saturday, dad gets to grill. Sunday is some family favorite. Just to give some examples to get your juices rolling to help you figure out what's going to work for your family. See, you're not eating the same exact meal every Monday forever. You're just rotating within categories, but you're eliminating decision fatigue. All right, so this is how it works in my family. My wife and I will sit down towards the end of the week and come up with what do we want to have next week. So we started this, and now my wife has a binder of recipes that we really like. And we are now working on a 3-week grocery list rotation so that we can just put in a grocery order, go pick it up, and we can come back. We've saved a bunch of time from shopping, unless there's something specific that we need to go in and get. And so with those 3 weeks of groceries, we rotate. Every 3 weeks, it's the same thing. So it doesn't get boring back to back. And it really reduces that decision fatigue. And so then really it's just like, okay, well, this past week, this went well, this didn't went well. The kids didn't really like this. We had a bunch of extra of this. We just make small adjustments from there. And then every so often, we just completely change the whole day or whole week and try something new. Again, going back to the previous episodes, nothing is really set in stone. All right, this is all about experimenting and trying out things that are going to work well for your family and help you be more fulfilled in your life. Okay. So a little bit more steps. You could do something like meal prep on Sundays. Wash your vegetables, pre-cook proteins, portion out your snacks, pre-chop ingredients, and you do that with your kids, with your family there, helping together. Me and my wife will do a little bit of this together. Definitely the kids, they love cooking with mom, and so we try to do batch cooking on weekends or use a slow cooker during the week. It's really nice when dinner is not a daily crisis. It's a solved problem. A lot of times now, my wife will put dinner in the crock pot, set that baby on low, and come back later that evening. Almost everything's ready to go. We're going to be simplifying our clothing choices to basics that pretty much all of them work together. And don't worry, ladies, I'm not talking about wearing the same outfit every day like Steve Jobs. I'm talking about coordinating a wardrobe where pretty much everything matches everything else so that you can have different combinations that appear like your wardrobe's bigger than it really is. What this means is fewer options, which then leads to faster mornings and less decision fatigue. You only have 5 tops. less decision fatigue. Five bottoms, less decision fatigue. So just get it and go. For kids, especially little kids, lay out the clothes the night before. All right, make it their responsibility as they get older to dress themselves. Who cares what they look like? It's their responsibility and less decision fatigue on you. One less morning decision for everybody. For each person in your family, that's easily, 15, maybe 30 minutes saved every morning, which is 3 hours or so a week. It's pretty handy. Next up, household systems. Okay, now we're getting to a critical principle. Every family member contributes to the household, not because they get paid, but because, I know this is shocking, because they belong to the family. This is crucial. So we, in our family, we don't do traditional allowances in our house. If you want to, that's fine. But we don't do it because, the why? Because contributing to our family isn't a job that you get paid for. It's part of being part of the family. That's part of growing up. It's part of learning responsibility. However, if one of my kids wants something extra, say a special toy, money to go do something with some friends or whatever, they can come up with something to do. They come up with an initiative and then come to me. They may come and say, hey, Dad, I'll deep clean the van for $20. Or, hey, Mom, I'll organize the closet for $15. And then we negotiate. This teaches them two essential life skills: responsibility and initiative. They learn that the family runs because everyone contributes. They also learn that extra rewards come from extra effort. The result, our house runs smoother, kids develop ownership mentality over time, and my wife and I, we get hours back each week. The system principle: anytime you find yourself doing the same task repeatedly, you need to create a system for it. Write down the steps, assign responsibilities, make it repeatable. We've talked about morning routines, getting dressed. Well, the rest of your morning routine, or your evening cleanup team or routine, or laundry cycles. Something that we starting to do is, instead of having laundry just all pile up and do one big load at once, is assigning a different day to different tasks. So one day it might be the girls' laundry. One day it might be the boys' laundry. One day it might be my wife's laundry. One day it might be the towels and all the bedding. So that it's spread throughout the week and it doesn't overwhelm the people who are doing laundry. And then it also gives a little space throughout the week, multiple times, for my wife and sometimes me if I'm not busy doing something else, and our kids to sit together and talk while doing the laundry. So there's that layering we talked about earlier, built into the systems. We also have bill paying, grocery shopping, and a whole host of other things. As I said before, a good system that we do is the grocery shopping. We have 3 weeks that we rotate. We already have the list in our cart from previous orders, so we can just click reorder, fills up our cart, and then we just adjust from there. And it saves us a ton of time. Not to mention, we're not spending an hour or so walking around the store, picking everything else up, because Walmart, all these other people, they have grocery pickup for free. So it's helpful. But just think about this. Whatever consumes regular time, if possible, and if it makes sense, and if it does not pull away from meaningful family time, should become a systematic process, not a daily reinvention. If you don't have bills on automatic bill payment, you should do that. That frees up mental band space. Even if it doesn't take a lot of time, just that mental band space of having to do that frees that up. Because what you find in the end, even though some people may not like systems, like, oh, I don't like being fit together. It's not about that. I heard this great quote, and it's been attributed to different people over the years. I don't really know who said it first, but it's still a great quote nonetheless. And it's really was talking about like the education system, but it can fit a lot of different uses. And so I want to share with you here. If you tell a fish to climb a tree, it's going to spend the rest of its life thinking it's dumb. Okay, but if you put a fish in the water, that's when a fish can become its fullest version of itself, right? And so that's what systems do. Systems create freedom. Systems create this structure that allow us to be the best version of ourselves possible. It's not about constraining. It's about helping us multiply in a good way. They remove the mental load of constant decision making. They make your life predictable in the best way possible. I know that many of you are thinking, well, this will add more work to my life. Well, you are correct. It will add more work once. You see, after you start saving tons of time and mental energy, you'll see how great it is to come up with systems. So take that little bit of time up front. Think about the things that you do repeatedly and how you can systemize it. Yes, it will take a little bit of time. So don't try to systemize everything in one day. Just take one a day, one every few days, and systemize it, work it out to see how it's working. And you'll see that as you do this more and more, you create more time, more freedom, and you start having this snowball effect where you'll find a lot more brain space, a lot more time for other things because of all these systems you've created. Now we're going to move on to the next point, okay? Because we're getting to something that's really critical. It's not enough to cut time thieves and to create systems. You have to actively protect margin. If you go back and think about the previous episodes, we've talked about being more productive just usually means people shove more things to you to do. And so then you still end up being burnt out. Right? That's why we need to protect our margin. Margin is that breathing room in your schedule that allows for interruptions, spontaneous family moments, rest, or the unexpected opportunities that make life rich. Okay. For example, if your calendar is packed, edge to edge, meetings after meetings, getting people here doing this, one delay just absolutely cascades into chaos and missed opportunities. Think about if you've ever been to some kind of event or any sort of retreat or whatever, and it's like 9:12, meet at this time, 10:37, do that. Like, you already know that's not going to happen. Like, something's going to come up and it's going to just take everything out. Okay. For us as in families, one sick kid destroys the entire day. One thing that I really like learning is that Warren Buffett, the famous investor, he's also famous for blocking out hours of his day, sometimes like most of the day, just to read, just to sit and think, because that's what's most important to him. All right. It gives him that time to discover, to analyze, and figure out what he needs to do. And I would say it's proven very effective for him. Okay. And so how much more important is that for our life and our family? Because we're not talking about just investing money. We're talking about investing into something way more important than money, and that's our family. But here's the key. When you reclaim those hours through the frameworks that we discussed previously, please do not immediately fill them with more activities. Then it just becomes pointless. Now you're just going to go back to burnout, and that's what we want to avoid. You have to guard them fiercely. Use them for what matters most according to your mission. That's why this is coming now, after the first things and the family mission. Because if you don't have first things first, you don't have your family mission, you're going to do this, and then you're going to have so much time that you're just going to jam more activities into, and it's not going to be helpful in the long run. So maybe that's reading bedtime stories without rushing through it, like, oh, the kid's got to be in bed by this time. Or maybe it's sitting on your porch with your spouse after the kids are in bed, just, drinking some hot tea, talking, having a good time. Maybe it's just having margin for those divine interruptions. The neighbor who needs your help, the kid who wants to talk about something important, but doesn't really want to make a big deal about it. A couple of my kids are kind of shy like that. And so they just wait for those times where they can come to me or my wife and talk about whatever it is that's bothering them without, bringing all eyes on them from their siblings. You see, I used to be bad about this until I realized margin isn't wasted time. It's invested time. And it's really the best invested time that you could ever have. It's what transforms a scheduled life into a rich, fulfilling life. And so to sum up the margin principle, when you gain time, resist the urge to immediately optimize it and fill it. Resist it. Resist that urge. I know I'm a very type A, get stuff done person. Resist the urge to fill it. Let it breathe. Let it serve your mission. Let it create space for what you can't schedule but desperately need. And as hard as this may be, because trust me, it's very hard for me, as you go along and you get better at this, you'll see the value in it. And the more you see the value in it, and the more that you're prioritizing things that actually matter, the easier it becomes to guard your margin time. Because here's the truth, the most meaningful moments in life, they're rarely scheduled. They happen in the margins. So now it's time for our faith integration. This entire framework is about redeeming time, right? And it connects directly to Ephesians 5. I mentioned it a little bit ago, but it says more fully in Ephesians 5 around verse 15, be careful then how you walk, not as unwise, but as wise, making the most of every opportunity because the days are evil. See, time is a stewardship issue. We're called to be wise stewards, not just of money, but of minutes. Every hour you reclaim from time thieves is an hour that you can invest in eternal priorities, faith formation, family relationships, serving others. When you align your minutes with your mission, you're building a life that reflects God's order rather than the world's chaos. You're creating space for the Spirit to work, for relationships to deepen, for family to flourish. This isn't just time management. It's discipleship. It's practical sanctification. And it's one of the most loving things you can do for your family. So let's get a little bit more practical with some assignments. I know everybody, oh my gosh, there's assignments. I'm not in school. Well, I don't know about you, but I hated my assignments in school, but I'll take assignments to make my family better any day and twice on Sundays. So here's some practical assignments for the week. Okay. So day one, starting there, day one, day two, depending on how long it takes to get done. We're going to identify one major time thief. Maybe it's mindless scrolling. Maybe it's streaming services. Maybe it's just being disorganized. Let's cut it in half. All right. Don't try and eliminate it completely just yet. All right. Let's reduce it by like 50%. If you're finding it hard, shoot for 30%. But the goal is let's reduce it. All right. And then track on those 2 days how much time you get back. All right. Next, day 3 and 4. Choose one activity to stack. Pick from our examples: audiobook plus playing with your kids or walking, family walk together, catching up on the day, talking with your spouse, worship music, podcast, something with your morning routine. Try it for 2 days. See how it feels. If it doesn't feel good or it's kind of awkward or whatever, give it some more time until you know for sure whether it's going to work or not. And again, don't listen to me. I'm not telling you X, Y, Z. I'm just giving you some ideas, some examples, some frameworks for you to fill in and make the decisions that you need for your family. And then days 5 through 7, simplify one major area. That could be meal planning, wardrobe choices, household systems, whatever it is. Okay, figure out one area to simplify. Just start there and see how it goes. Do that for a few days. And if it does good, great, go to the next area. If it doesn't, just stick with that one area until it's working really well. And if you have kids and you agree that you're part of the family, you should contribute in your own way, implement the contribution, not transaction principle for chores. Again, if you don't want to, all right, strike this one from your list. All right. But just do these 3 things. Okay. Of identify a major time thief, choose an activity to stack, and simplify your one major area in your life. All right. And I'll guarantee you, I absolutely guarantee you will free up minimum 5 to 10 hours this week. Hours that you can invest in your mission, your family, or just simply creating margin to breathe. Because remember, the goal isn't perfection, it's progress. So start with one framework and build from there. All right. So that is going to be wrapping up episode 3 of Fulfillment Frameworks, your blueprint for life without burnout. Today, we exposed the time thieves, learned the power of time stacking, systematized the routine decisions that drain energy, and talked about protecting our precious margin in our schedule. So your assignment, remember, cut one time thief, stack one activity, and simplify one major area this week. Next week, in episode 4, we're diving deeper into weekly planning as a family, how to sit down together, how to align your calendars, and intentionally design your week instead of just letting it happen to you. This is where all these time frameworks come together in a cohesive system. And so before you go, Make sure you check out 3 quick resources that will help you. Take the fulfillment assessment if you have not already. The links will be in the description. Find out exactly where you're losing time and energy. Grab the fulfillment framework. Again, a link to that. That's just a Google download. It's built around these exact time frameworks. It'll help you and your family get more times back. And then third, join our Discord community. Share what's working, what's not. Get some support from others. Talk with others, and we're going to build together as a community. And last but not least, if you've not subscribed, please subscribe already. If you found value in this episode, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. And then share this episode with another parent who's drowning in busyness and they really need these frameworks to make their life better. And last but not least, remember our core principle. This isn't about doing more. It's about building the right frameworks. And when you do that consistently, you create a deeply fulfilling life without burnout. I'm Michael Loffmiller. Thanks for building with me, and I'll see you in episode 4. Bye.